Hey there, Suzi here. Before we get into today's episode, I want to share this special message with you. Now, my co-host Michelle and I love masterminds. Not only do we belong to masterminds, but we also host a mastermind. We started it almost 8 years ago, and it is the premier mastermind for women business owners who want to grow their business with a specific focus on marketing. Now, this group is usually completely booked out, and very occasionally we open the doors and invite a handful of women in. So if you're growing your business, but you're struggling with feeling overwhelmed, or like you constantly have a split focus when it comes to your marketing, this could be exactly what you're looking for. We have an amazing time together, and the women in the group are extraordinary. They're great cheerleaders, supporters, advisors, and colleagues for you. And they're also seeing extraordinary results. We see people cracking the $1 million, $2 million, $3 million mark, launching new e-commerce sites that go from $0 to $10,000 a month in sales. They're doubling their conversion rates, they're growing memberships, they're selling courses, they're growing their personal brands, and they're getting all kinds of media exposure and speaking opportunities and so much more. You can learn more about the mastermind and join the wait list over at herbusinessmastermind.com. We're going to open the doors soon, so you definitely want to be on the list to get an invitation. So head on over to herbusinessmastermind.com. Hi, you're listening to the Content Sells Podcast, a show all about how to create content to attract, convert, and keep your ideal clients. Welcome to episode 214. I'm Suzi Dafnis, and here with me is my co-host, Michelle Falzon. Hey, Michelle, how are you?
Hey, Suzi. I love the way you said that. Hey, Suzi. I'm doing great. Thank you so much. And I'm very much looking forward to today's episode.
Yes, me too, because we're bringing back a guest that gets mentioned often on the show, but hasn't been on the show since way back when in episode 31.
Wowza. Gee whiz, that's quite a few episodes ago now.
It is.
So time really does fly when you're building an empire, and that's exactly what our guest has done since our last interview with him way back in episode 31. And we're talking about the one and only Mr. Ryan Levesque. And last time we had Ryan on the show, he was sharing his Ask methodology, which centers around really understanding your customer and what's going on in their mind, really having a process for accessing that customer language. And he says this idea of taking your message from your market and not your mind. And he does that through the smart use of surveys and quizzes. And Ryan has built an amazing business teaching literally tens of thousands of people about this methodology through his flagship Ask Method Masterclass and his Quiz Funnel Masterclass programs, as well as with his 12-month coaching program and a range of extremely popular boot camps and a whole lot of other programs. He's also a best-selling author. He's developed the Bucket.io software, and his businesses are 6-time honorees on the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing companies in America.
And that has been a whole lot of growth, in the time since, like you said, since he was last on the show. And so exciting, so excited to have him here. And suffice to say that he knows a thing or two when it comes to marketing and growing a business. He's also the author of a couple of books that I absolutely love. One is called Ask and the other is Choose. And he's definitely one of the thought leaders in that online space and has been increasingly so over the last decade. And what I've always loved about Ryan is his ability to spot trends early and to be in the right place in the right time to capitalize on those trends and to share leading edge information with his clients. And he's here with us today to talk about a whole new revolution that he sees coming, which he's dubbed the hybrid expert revolution. So let's get him on the line and hear all about it.
Ryan, welcome back to the Content Sells Podcast. It's so great to have you here.
Shell, Suzi, it is so awesome to be here. Very, very excited for our conversation here today.
You wouldn't believe how often we refer back to the episode you did with us. Right. I don't know, 2017 or something we were just saying. What was it, Michelle?
You know what? Your last appearance on this show was back in 2016, if you can believe that.
That's insane. That was like last decade. What's going on here?
About time we got you back. But Suzi's so right. So many people still talk to us about that episode with you. So we're really thrilled to have you back. And we're talking about something a little new this time, Ryan. I'm loving kind of where you're going. There's this revolution that you've been spotting. There's this in your typical fashion, you're sort of seeing into the future and coming back and telling us what's next. And we'd love to know more about this new thing that you're working on right now. And you can start by just kind of giving us a big picture of what this is, what the terrain is, what the method kind of that you're looking at kind of moving into is all about.
Yeah, we've been working with a group of people really for the last decade, since the last time that we were all together on this show, who transformed their expertise into income. And of course, I'm talking about coaches, consultants, course creators, experts who have an area of their business where they're transforming the knowledge in their mind into a way to make impact and a way to generate income in their business. And what we've seen in the last decade is this predictable path that happens over and over again. And this predictable path is tied to two key transitions that are required in your business in order to get to where you want to go. So what we find is that some experts who come into this space of going into business for themselves is they start out all bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, all excited to take over the world, and they decide to make the leap. We call the first transition the leap. And the leap is where, for the first time, you put yourself out there. You start your business, whether it's a side hustle or a full-time thing or somewhere in between. You put yourself out there and you have this big vision for your business. However, along the way, in the process of making that leap, you land in a place that is really a prison, for lack of a better term, where you are feeling left tired and trapped in your business. You're working more hours. You don't have any of the freedom that you were hoping to get. And you have a business that's left you trapped, tired and trapped. And you've created this prison for yourself that can feel like you ask, why did I even do this in the first place? In order to get to the promised land, what most people want, which is a business that provides freedom and flexibility, it requires making a second transition. We call this transition the switch. And the switch is all about one key concept in your business. And that concept is leverage. Specifically, when we talk about leverage, decoupling your income from your time, disconnecting those two ideas from one another. And once you achieve this leverage, that's the key to unlocking that freedom and flexibility that most of us seek in our business. It's a path that I followed myself, and it's a path that our clients have followed who have used what we describe as the hybrid expert method to achieve that place of freedom and flexibility. So that's kind of this new revolution that we've identified, this trend that happens over and over again. And there's an opportunity in front of us right now with the advent of new technology to achieve that place of freedom and flexibility in a way that was never before possible if you are a coach, a consultant, or an expert of any kind.
I am so excited. One, because I see so many women in that trap position, thousands of women every single year. And what they really want, what they have is not what they imagine. And that freedom and flexibility is what their heart really desires. And also leverage is one of my favorite words. I know it's one of Michelle's as well. And I remember doing a course way back when, and they used to say that if you don't understand leverage, you work too hard. And I think that's totally relevant to what you're talking about right here. So I'm loving what you're saying. And I'm really, really excited. And speaking about leverage, in typical Ryan Ask method fashion, you have spent quite a bit of time researching the market, testing out ideas around this hybrid expert method that you're going to be speaking to us about, and how that can give you leverage and really getting a deep understanding of your audience, which is, of course, the basis of the Ask method. And I understand that you found some really interesting statistics about where most people are when it comes to how much leverage they actually have right now. Could you tell us a little more about these interesting insights that you've been discovering?
Absolutely. So we are believers that no matter what your business might be, the secret is simple. Find out what people want and need and give it to them. That's it. I mean, that's what business is all about, right? It's like find what people need and then give it to them. Now, it's easy to say that in a few words. Sometimes the delivery of that is a bit more challenging than what it might seem on the surface. But we try to start every new project, new product, new brand with that ethos in mind. And so when we started really focusing on this in our business, we began by using the ask method, figuring out what it is that people are struggling with. And what we found is that there's a very clear line in the market in terms of where people are at right now and where they want to get to. In fact, we've distilled this into 5 levels of leverage. And these 5 levels of leverage can be tied to the way in which you are delivering your program. So the lowest form of leverage is where you work with every single one of your clients on a one-to-one basis, and you're delivering a custom result. So every time that you take on a new client, it's like it's a new thing that's being created. You might work with one client 2 hours a week, another client 20 hours a month. One client you charge some amount of money, a different client you charge a different amount of money. You're doing different types of work for different types of people. And the reality is you have nothing that is predictable or repeatable in your business. That is the lowest form of leverage. The highest form of leverage is on the flip side, level 5, is where you've been able to take yourself out of the delivery in your business. In other words, you've got a team of people or a technology solution that is able to deliver the results that you deliver for your clients, not tied to your personal time. And there is a band, a spectrum in between these 2 levels. So when we did research in the market, what we found is that 95% of people are at levels 1 and 2 in their business right now, meaning they have some version of a one-to-one delivery, or they themselves are involved in the delivery in some way, shape, or form. But what's interesting is that 95% of people desire to be at level 3, 4, 5. Right. So clearly there's this gap where people are and where they want to get to. And so we decided to make that our focus, to make this transition, to go from what we say clients to cohorts, to get out of the trap of working with individuals on a client by client basis and making the shift to building and selling scalable group programs. That for me has been transformational. Like when I look at my life and kind of how this all got started, I know you may know the story. We may have talked about it the last time that we were all together. That's my story. I was a tired and trapped consultant that was working 80 hours a week. I think I had 27 clients. I was working sun up till sundown. I didn't even have time to eat in between meetings. I would just turn my camera off and put some food in my mouth and go to the next client call that I had. And I reached a place where I had pushed my body so far that I ended up in the hospital. I had to be rushed to the ER. I had slipped into a state known as DKA, diabetic ketoacidosis. My organs were shutting down. I basically pushed my body to the point that I was at a breaking point. And it was through that experience where I said, I've got to do something different. I had a 6-month-old baby at home. I was a father for the first time. I just turned 30 years old, and I was in ICU, and I had reached a point where I was days away from slipping into a coma because I'd pushed things too hard. So when I say I know what tired and trapped feels like, I was there. Like I was at the brink of just losing it all. And it was in that moment that I said, I need to do something different. I need a way to scale back the number of hours that I'm working. But at the same time, I don't want to scale back my impact in the world. Like I don't want to shrink into some corner somewhere, but I've got to leave time and space for the things that are important to me, to be a father, to be a husband, to take care of my family, to do all the things that are important to me. And it's when I made 3 key shifts in my business that everything started to change. And these 3 shifts are all around this idea of leverage. So that gives a little bit of background, I think, around where this comes from, how it was birthed and how it was born, and really kind of sets the stage for what these aspects of business to focus on are if you are someone who desires to go from being on the hamster wheel, being in this prison, being tired and trapped, and achieving that vision that you may have set out for yourself in business, which is to have the freedom and flexibility and really a business that works around your life instead of the other way around.
I'm loving this idea of the scale because I can totally feel like you did that time when you were in that situation, just the pressure and the heaviness around those 1s and 2s. But that's where we start. We're working one-on-one. We're exchanging our time for money. I've got this expertise. Someone's going to pay me for it. But we get tired. We get burnt out. And now you've created a method for getting us to those where we really want to be, where life looks like we want. Now, you mentioned these 3 key shifts. Could you give us an insight into those?
Absolutely. And so what you'll find out about these key shifts, and this is going to start to make sense why we describe this as the hybrid expert method is it's all about making these transitions in a stepwise fashion. It's one thing to say, all right, you want to go from working one-on-one with clients where every single client engagement is unique to then suddenly waking up one day and having a leverage group program where you're serving people in a group fashion. Like that is like snap the fingers dream, but it's not the reality. Like we know that is not possible. The reality is this: you do not make that transition overnight. You make a series of shifts in your business that take you there one step at a time. And so when we say the hybrid expert method, what you're not doing is giving up that one-on-one income in favor of switching entirely to a group program suddenly one day waking up overnight. You're doing a hybrid of the two.
Okay.
You're doing a hybrid of the two that takes you in the direction of what we call the leverage ratio, the amount of income that you're generating in your business in a leveraged way in a stepwise progression. And the way you do that is in these three key areas, which are the three key shifts that I recognize. We describe it as attract, enroll, deliver. What does that mean? Attract is how you attract leads in your business, people who could become potential clients. Enroll is how you enroll those leads into becoming paying clients. And deliver is how you deliver results, how you deliver your products and services. Now, the three key transitions that I made are as follows. In attract, enroll, deliver. I'll start with deliver. On the delivery side, I made the transition from refocusing my thinking from clients to cohorts. Instead of thinking on a one-to-one basis, I started thinking about serving people in small groups or cohorts. On the enroll side of the equation, I made the shift from thinking around conversations to presentations. Instead of focusing on one-to-one interactions in the form of calls and conversion interactions, I started shifting my attention to working with people and communicating in a group way. And on the attract side of the equation, I made the shift from focusing on contacts, my personal Rolodex, to crowds. So these three key shifts are the secret to achieving leverage. From clients to cohorts, conversations to presentations, and from contacts to crowds.
What a major shift. Major. Yeah.
Everything changed for me in my life, my business, the trajectory of it all.
Thank you. I'll take 2 of whatever you're selling. Thanks, Ryan.
It is such a powerful shift, though. It is this switch. It is a change in mindset. And I love the approach that you're taking here, that it's also realistic. It's recognizing that it's not just about like turning that tap off. I'm no longer serving people one-to-one and I'm magically serving, this giant group of people. But as we move from one-to-one to these group programs, as we get more leverage in our lives, you have identified a few really key mechanisms, and you touched on some of them there, when you said about going from conversations to presentations. Tell us, what are those sort of key things that we need to be moving towards, those mechanisms for moving more into more leverage?
3 key things, and that's it. So one of my mentors once taught me that there are 1 million ways to make $1 million. You just have to pick one. That's it. You pick one and you go all in. And we have this concept that we talk about and teach that we call 1-1-1. You need one way to attract, one way to enroll, and one way to deliver. And that's it. And so when it comes to attract, enroll, deliver, the 3 key mechanisms that help me go from low leverage, tired and trapped to freedom and flexibility are as follows. You need a delivery program that serves people in a group fashion. You need an enrollment presentation that allows you to communicate what your offer is to a group of people in an online or offline paradigm. And you need an attraction funnel, a way to get strangers on the internet to pay you money, to attract strangers on the internet, people who don't know who you are, to get to know, like, and trust you. So you're not reliant on your contacts. So I made this shift, and it's a shift that transformed everything for me, from relying on contacts, conversations, and clients to having one attraction funnel, one enrollment presentation, and one delivery program. And when I made that shift, it's like this whole new world completely opened up to me. And that is the model that we've been helping our clients with. It's the model that our most successful students follow. 1, 1, 1. One funnel, one presentation, one program. That's it.
I can feel the collective nervous energy of all of our listeners just going, like a big exhale, because we feel like we've got to do 50 million things, and we've got to have blogs and podcasts, and we've got to do this, we've got to have 20 different programs, and we've got to be running around killing ourselves left and right. And you've lived that experience. You've put yourself in a hospital living that experience. We see people all the time in various communities that we're in having that experience. This is work, really powerful work that you're doing, work the world needs, work that a lot of people who've got great expertise, they've got the right intentions, they want to build a business, they want to look after their families, they want to make an impact on the world, they want to share this great knowledge they have, but they're just often choosing the wrong channels to do it. And I love that you're just making it so clear, so straightforward for people. Now, what I think is really smart about what you've done is you've talked to us about attract, enroll, deliver, and making this shift to having a funnel, to having a presentation, and to having a program. And of course, there's a lot of detail in there about how you do that well, and you're a master at that. And I'm looking forward to learning more from you about that. But there's another sort of stage in this process that I have heard you speak about, and it is the key to, I think, doing those things really well. Do you want to talk to us a bit about what that stage is?
So if you were to go out and build a house, the worst possible thing that you could do is just rush and start building. There's thinking that needs to go into that process. You've got to, spend some time thinking about floor plans and layout and materials and all that. And once you've done that advanced thinking, then you can go out and build the house of your dreams. When it comes to building the business of your dreams, very similarly, there's a step that comes before attract, enroll, deliver. And we call that step design. Now, for someone who doesn't have a business, it's very intuitive. Well, you need to design. But what if you have a business right now? What if you have a floor plan that's not working? What if you have a layout that's causing you frustration? Well, in this case, we need to go through the process of redesign. We need to take inventory of what's working right now and what's not working in your business. So a few questions that I'll invite everyone here who might be listening to this or watching this or studying this right now, part of this right now, to be thinking about and reflecting on. First things first, attract, enroll, deliver. If you could focus on one of those areas of your business that would unlock the most leverage in your life right now, what might that be? Another way to think about it is, what represents the biggest bottleneck for you in your business? Now, it's tempting to say, well, I'm the biggest bottleneck, you're the biggest bottleneck. Yes, but go one level deeper. What is it about your business? Are you spending all your time delivering for clients? Is that what's leaving you tired and trapped? Are you spending all your time on enrollment, sales calls, discovery calls, moving people forward? Are you spending all your time in attraction, trying to attract leads? Or is there an aspect of your business that you're spending all your time in right now that's not leaving you any time to focus on one of the other pillars? So that's the first thing to reflect on when it comes to the design piece. Now, when it comes to design, there are 3 steps to the process to design the business of your dreams that's going to give you freedom and flexibility. We call these steps message, offer, model. First things first is your message. In order to build a business that serves you and not the other way around, you need to attract the right type of clients. You need to attract clients that you want to work with, that you can truly help. And that is dictated by your message. Now, when it comes to your message, this is something that's worth writing down. I learned this from one of my mentors. We teach this to every single one of our students. It's this: your message should come from your market and not from your mind. What does that mean? What that means is, as tempting as it may be as an entrepreneur, as an expert in your space, to come up with some snappy message, some snappy language to use, the reality is what you do in your business should be derived entirely from the need that exists in your market. We are not creating demand. We are channeling demand, demand that already exists. What is the pain that exists in your market? What are the challenges, the frustrations that people are facing? I learned once that people don't know care how much you know until they know how much you care. And one of the most effective ways to demonstrate your empathy and understanding for what someone is going through is to express the problem that they are struggling with right now in a way that is more accurate than they can even describe it themselves. Where they say, oh my gosh, it's like you're inside my head right now. Because what happens when you describe what someone is going through better than they can even describe it themselves, the only question that they have for you is this. So what do I do about it? What comes next? So we start with your message. From there, that enables you to design an offer that meets the market and matches the need. Now, when we talk about offer, we're talking about what it is that you're selling. Now, an offer goes far beyond just the name of your product and the price that you're charging. It's the collection of features and benefits and bonuses and risk reversal and pricing and all of the components that you are putting forth inside the market. Now, in order to have a successful offer, it's not enough to just have any offer. You have to have an irresistible offer. We like to call this just take my money already offer. An offer that's so good that they're throwing their credit card at you and saying, where do I sign up? Like, I'm so in for that. So you need an irresistible offer. And last but not least, you need a model that takes people from strangers on the internet who don't know who you are to paying clients to raving fans. You need a customer journey. And when it comes to designing your model in your business, here's the secret. Pioneers get shot, settlers get rich. Emulate before you innovate. Don't try to create something, invent something, or reinvent something. Instead, follow what already represents best practices right now. So when you start with these three things, a message that comes from your market and not from your mind, an offer that is irresistible, just take my money already, and a model that's based on proven methods, you've got the key foundational pieces in place to build a business that works around your life. So you can attract, enroll, and deliver for your clients and have a simple, scalable, stress-free business for yourself.
I love this design step because it is so overlooked, and we end up using your house analogy, tacking on rooms, and suddenly we have this Frankenstein thing that is our business that we don't love versus this clean slate where we have this architectural image that is exactly what we want, that we can move into. I love that analogy. No, but one of the hardest points, going to what you were saying, is that transition from one-to-one to one-to-many. It's something Michelle and I go on about, and we support a lot of people in our program with that as well. But if someone's listening today and they love this idea of implementing your hybrid expert method and going, yes, I want a group program, what do you suggest they do next or first?
The first step that I recommend is a micro step. It's a micro exercise.
Okay.
It can be overwhelming to think, how do I transition what I'm doing right now with each of my unique, special snowflake clients and do it in a group setting? They would never accept that. That would never be possible. The exercise I want to invite you to think about is if you were to identify just one thing that you do with your clients right now that potentially could be done in a group format, what might that one thing be? Maybe it's a common exercise that you take every single one of your clients through. Maybe it's a set of questions that you invite every single one of your clients to answer as part of your onboarding process. Maybe, just maybe, there's something that you do on an individual one-on-one basis with your clients that if you were to do it in a small group format, it could actually be an even better experience. I'll give you an example to bring that to light. So we have a client, a very successful consultant who helps parents with children who are applying to elite universities around the world to get into their first choice university. So these are driven students. These are very motivated parents. And these are kids who want to go to Oxford and Harvard and Yale and Stanford and all the top universities around the country. So there's this around the world. So there's a certain level of prestige associated with this. Now, this particular consultant, when he started working with us, said that it would be impossible to make the transition because these are people who are paying top dollar for his services as a consultant. He has a reputation and a very high success rate that he did not want to sacrifice. He said, I get the results I get because I work with each one of my clients one-on-one. And I challenged him and I said, is it possible that there's some aspect to what you do that could be more powerful in a group setting? And he said, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, is it possible that these individual students that are working alone could benefit from knowing one another, from having a bit of a mastermind, perhaps, to share what their challenges are, what they're struggling with? Perhaps is one of the big benefits of attending an institution like Oxford or Harvard or Stanford, not just the education that you get, but the network of fellow alumni that you open up doors to? And if these students are all on similar paths, wouldn't it therefore be powerful to get access to that network before they even enroll in college? And then what about the parents? Are these parents isolated? Do they feel alone in this process of application? Could they benefit from having perhaps other parents that they could commiserate with, connect with, community with in this process? So perhaps could you even elevate the value of what you do by connecting these people? Perhaps could you charge more money for what you're already doing? The group program does not necessarily need to be a not as good as program. It can be an even better than program.
Love it. Love it.
And this unlocks this thinking for him in a way that was never part of his thinking. So micro exercise. With that example and the first step that we talked about, what is one thing in your business that you might be able to do in some form of a group leveraged way? And it's just repeating that question to yourself over and over again until you achieve that level of leverage that gets you to that place of freedom and flexibility.
Love it. Thank you.
I think you put your finger right on it just then, Ryan, with the thinking that can have us tired and trapped, and that you are really cracking open with this conversation, with this process, with this methodology that you're really pioneering. And I'm so excited for everybody that's going to learn about this and for our listeners that are hearing it right now, because this is a big idea. When you can go from feeling like, no, I've got to customize absolutely everything for every single person. That is a fast track to tired and trapped. That is a fast track to quickly hitting your capacity and not being able to help as many people as you might want to help or make as much money as you might want to make. But the idea that I can actually move to a more leveraged delivery program that is also a win-win for everybody. It's a win for me. It's a win for the people I help. I can help more people. These students that are going to get together are going to actually have a better experience in the case of the consultant you were mentioning. This is really exciting. This is the stuff that I think can really change lives, because we do make the prison that we live in inside our businesses, every single one of us. And it is this thinking, this is at the heart of it, that I have to customize everything, that I have to work super hard for everything. What might happen if we let it be easy? What might happen if we let there be leverage in our lives? And so I love what you're saying so much. And you've got some amazing resources coming. You've been working on some incredible training that is coming. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually have a workshop right around the corner that we are hosting on this very topic, where actually we are going to look at this process in more detail. So we're going to unpack, and I'll teach the entire hybrid expert method. And we're going to go through a series of exercises together to identify what level of leverage you're at in each of those three key pillars: attract, enroll, deliver. And where do you want to get to? And what does that custom path look like for you? What are the next immediate steps that you need to take in your business to go from where you are right now to where you want to be? We're going to look at some examples of businesses that are following this method to give you some ideas and inspiration of what's possible. And the workshop is happening right around the corner. If anyone's interested in joining, I'd love to extend an invitation. It is, if you go to the link hybridexpert.com/workshop, it'll be taking you to a page to get yourself in, get yourself registered. And if you're listening to this right now, watching this right now, your timing is perfect, because our next workshop is happening literally right around the corner. So I'd love to extend that invitation to everyone here who is interested in diving deeper. And anyone who's interested in going from, feeling maybe tired and trapped at some point or some days in your business to achieving that freedom and flexibility through the process that we talked about here today.
I'm excited. I'm excited that you are doing this program. I'm excited for the people who are going to have the opportunity to finally break free of the trap that, we created for ourselves, and each of us has done it, but to actually have a pathway and a step-by-step method, and to work closely with you to do that. I know it's going to help so many business owners. And I just so appreciate you being here on the show and sharing what you've shared already, which has been so rich with our listeners. And it's been way too long. But we will put the link to the workshop definitely on our show notes page, and we'll give listeners those details. But for now, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for your return to the show, and thank you for joining us.
Well, Suzi, Michelle, it's been an absolute pleasure. And let's not let 10 years go by before the next time we're all together again. There's too long last time. It's been an absolute pleasure this time as well. So thank you both so much.
Thank you.
That's right.
Yet again, Ryan delivers. He's so quotable. I kept writing things down. Such a great interview and so many thought-provoking ideas.
Agreed. Agree with that quotable statement that you made. And I've been really fortunate to get to work pretty closely with Ryan for several years now, creating a ton of programs and content together. And he, definitely is the real deal. He is a real genius when it comes to business and to marketing. And those upcoming workshops that he was talking about, the Hybrid Expert Workshop, that is going to be awesome. And I know that we highly recommend them. And Suzi, you're going to give people a bit of a link later as to how they can find out more about those. But first, what were some of your big takeaways?
As I said, I just kept writing, and I have been following Ryan's work now for as long as, since you introduced him to me many, many years ago. And the so many things stood out, but I've just picked a couple here. One is the idea of the 1-1-1, and that's simplicity of one way to attract, one way to enroll, one way to deliver. And what I see every single day, and we see it together as well, Michelle, is that we have all the attraction strategies. We've got 25 lead magnets, and we're doing challenges, and we're doing webinars, and we're doing all the things. And then we're enrolling and delivering a million things as well. And no wonder we're tired and burnt out. And so just this idea of simplifying the business. And I remember someone else saying, you only need one offer that converts. And so this takes it that little early. You only need one lead generation activity that gets your ideal clients coming to you. You don't need 25. You only need one thing that you're enrolling. And then imagine delivering something over and over again that is absolutely a great match for your market. Imagine how much simpler it would be to leverage your time and energy in that way. And so his story about going from contacts to crowds, from conversations to presentations, from clients to cohorts, again, all very, very cleverly described, but I just believe that it just really tells the truth about the scenario and also the shift that we need to make to get away from the current scenario. So that was one of my things. And the other thing was the design step that he talked about that you took him back to. Just so important to do that reset, to stop and redesign, because our businesses can get away from us. We try one thing, it works. We try another thing. We see our competitor doing the other thing. We add one more room we tack on another room to the house, and suddenly we have this crazy Frankenstein house. But that opportunity to go back and design takes a lot of courage, actually, I think, Michelle, because we think we might be leaving money on the table. So we do more, but actually we're probably leaving money on the table because it's really time to redesign, not only for the profitability and the money, but for our own mindsets and our own freedom of time and that leverage idea.
Yeah, and I love the metaphor that you picked up on, the house metaphor, like the building. And, I was just recently at a friend's house, and they've bought this ramshackle house that they're going to sort of pull rooms off that people have been tacking on, and they're kind of going to bring it back to its sort of some sense of order. But I noticed as I moved around the house how inefficient it was. Like you've got to go up some stairs to go down some stairs. You know what I mean? That's what it can be like in our business. We've tacked on so many things that we're spending all this energy and time not even getting where we need to go. Yeah. No, I love that so much. And the redesign piece that you just picked up on, I think is so key. One thing that I really liked about what he said, he said, like, when we get to the design step, there's these three key things: message, offer, model. And I'm like, okay, but where's the avatar? You know, like that might be what people are thinking when they hear that. Like, where is, because, you know, we talk so much on this show about the importance of the avatar. But what I want people to really pick up in what Ryan was saying, he sees message and avatar as so inextricably linked. And I think this is a great lesson we can learn from somebody who has done very, very well in their own business and helped a lot of other people. It's like, I think sometimes we think, well, who's my ideal client? Okay, got that. Now what am I going to make? And what's my headline? And what's my, you know, all of that. Whereas if you really see those as inextricably linked, the message is so much tailored to who that person is that you're trying to reach. It is derived from who that person is. You know, his whole ask methodology is find out who your people are and then talk to them, ask them questions, understand their challenges, understand their pain points. And then the message just kind of emanates from that. And he's got some tactics and strategies for kind of, you know, turning that core language into marketing language. But I just thought it was just an interesting thing to point out for anybody that might be listening and thinking, well, hang on, where's the avatar in that, Suzi and Michelle? That's where the avatar is. It's so deeply embedded in his idea of message that they are one and the same almost.
And he actually said, you know, anytime we do a new something, we start with that point. And again, he said that wonderful phrase, which you mentioned earlier and that we've mentioned in other episodes, about the message coming from the market and not from our mind. And I don't think people can hear that enough, because that time that we spend, that's leverage. Because when you're using your client's language, you are leveraging your marketing, because you're not thinking, oh, what am I going to say? How am I going to describe it? And as you said, Ryan has particular ways in which he teaches that you can do that you take that raw client language and you turn it into amazing bullet points and headlines and emails and social posts and all those things. So the you know, really speaking to that avatar, because you're right, you know, without that avatar, we can have all the fabulous offers and designs that we want, but if they're not speaking to that person, if that person doesn't immediately recognize, as Ryan said, that we understand their problem, you know, and then as a result of that, they assume that we, you know, where do I sign? So definitely want to be reminding people to go back to that ideal client, you know, a topic that you and I, again, also talk about quite a lot here on the show.
Yeah, and we've got some great episodes that support you to think about who your ideal client is and even how to do the interviews with your ideal client. So check out today's show notes. We'll put some links to some of our earlier episodes that will really help you with that. And another episode I want to give a shout out to is our How to Craft an Offer That Sells episode. And we'll put a link to that in the show notes, because that was another real cornerstone of the design process, you know, like the message, really getting clear on who your avatar is and what you need to say to them, what that message is that's going to resonate with their challenges, their pain points, their desires. When you can articulate their problem better than they can articulate it themselves, you know, there's message. But then he talked about offer, and not just any offer, an irresistible offer. And again, you know, he's singing our song, Suzi. We have spent a lot of time talking about offer. And once you get clear on that message and that avatar, the very next thing is to figure out, how do I create a compelling offer? And I think the big mistake people make is they tick a lot of the boxes. You know, the offer has a price. It has all these elements of an offer that we talk about, but it's not irresistible. You've got to really go the extra mile and create something really compelling. And, you know, I've been fortunate enough to sort of see behind the scenes of how Ryan creates his offers, and he goes the extra mile. This is something he really puts a ton of effort and energy into. And he said something once, he said, if you're not feeling a little bit uncomfortable about how much you've included in your offer, like how much you're giving, then you probably haven't quite made it irresistible enough. So go back and listen to our offers, our episode on how to craft an offer that sells. We go through the elements of an offer. It is one of our most popular episodes. It's hugely valuable to you. If you're thinking, I'm in that design step, or I'm going back to redesign this ramshackle house I've built, that is going to be a really useful episode for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you're absolutely right. I think once a week at least, I'm referring someone to it. Something that I just want to say also before we go is I really encourage everyone to take the micro step that Ryan suggested, and that is to ask yourself the question, what might be one thing in your business that you can do right now in a group format? It doesn't mean you have to have a group coaching program right away. And don't assume that it's not going to work in your industry. I really encourage you, firstly, if you're a member of the Her Business Network, please, go to the group and ask a question, or even if you're not a member of the Her Business Network, go to the Content Sales podcast page on Facebook and ask a question. This is my business. This is what I do. I don't know how to move to one-to-many. I don't know what I could do for this micro step. Michelle and I can support you in just getting you started. But don't assume that it can't be done in your industry just because you haven't done it yet. Ask to use, Ryan's foundation, which is, to ask.
And that, just to pick up on that about the group program, I really think he did put his finger on it. A lot of the limiting ideas that we can have if we do complicated work or prestigious work or work that has to be customized for each customer, we can start to think that is the only way we can deliver this. But what if you could just entertain the idea? That might be the micro commitment. Just entertain the idea that this is not something that has to be fully customized, or there's maybe one piece of this that doesn't have to be as custom, that could become part of a systemized process or a group program. And just cracking open our thinking is so valuable as we grow our own businesses. We can get locked into certain ruts, to certain ideas that don't have to be true anymore. And so the idea that the group program could be more than, not less than, I thought was a really powerful idea.
Yeah, and I have found that for sure. We used to do a lot one-on-one. We do a lot of group and connection. People get connected, like the story that Ryan was talking about. Could these students be connected? Could the parents of these students be more connected? Just helping others connect and learn in a group environment, it's synergistic. Because when one person asks a question, 10 people learn. When, one person shares their experience, there's others that go, oh my gosh, I'm understood. Just don't underestimate the power of group. I love group. And I actually enjoy it more than one-on-one. It's leverage, right? Because I like to have a leveraged life and a leveraged business.
Same. Big vote for the group program. And if you're not sure how to do it, then check out what Ryan's talking about right now. That's what he's focused on helping people do. It's also, what we're doing often inside the mastermind. We see people come into the mastermind to figure this very thing out.
Yes.
And we've got women like Angela Council who are just flying, Kat Matson flying. Like, the group program way is a very, very, very powerful way to leverage your time, to leverage your income, and to leverage your impact.
Thank you. So you can get all the details about the workshop that's coming up over at herbusiness.com/hybrid. That's herbusiness.com/hybrid. We'll also put, as well as link to the workshop, we'll also put links to the episodes that we've mentioned a little earlier on. I love today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it too. We love sharing these interviews, like this amazing one with Ryan, along with, all the awesome content marketing tips and strategies that we have in every episode with as many business owners as possible. So we would love it if you would leave us a rating or a review on Apple Podcasts. And here's why this is important, because podcasts are, audio files trapped inside of this channel that you're listening on. But it's so valuable for so many people. So if you know even one person that you think could benefit from this, having us show up when someone searches for one of the topics we cover or the podcast, and seeing these reviews, and we've already got 100 5-star reviews, it just makes a difference. It's that social proof that we've talked about here on the show. So I want to thank you so much for listening. And if you enjoyed today's episode, I'm going to go ahead and just ask you straight up, would you please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts? As I said, we've already got 100 5-star reviews, and we'd love yours as well. One person who left us a comment about a recent episode we did is the wonderful Erica Webb. from Self-Kind Hub. She's a counselor, she's a mindful movement coach, and she helps humans, mostly women, battling stress and overwhelm and burnout and self-criticism to really befriend themselves and their bodies. And so she has a membership called the Self-Kind Hub. And she was listening to our recent episode, which was all about retention strategies for memberships. And we shared 6 powerful membership retention strategies in that recent episode. And she said, oh, I needed this one, Suzi and Michelle. So you needed it, you got it. Erica, and we hope it was really, really helpful. So once again, anything we mentioned here on the show today can be found at today's show notes over at herbusiness.com/hybrid, including a link to Ryan's information and, of course, the workshop that he has coming up. Now, Michelle, what do we have coming up in the next episode?
We're actually going to be doing something that we've never covered before on the show, and we're talking about the power of using low-cost, low-priced workshops in your product mix. And there are some very specific times and places to use this strategy, and there are some very specific ways to use this strategy, and there are some pitfalls as well. So we're going to be sharing with you our top tips, things that we've learned, both Suzi and I, creating these lower cost workshops that are more on the front end of your marketing funnel. So we'll be sharing some of our inside tips, some of the things that we've found have really worked. That's all on the next show. So if you're somebody right now who's doing, say, a free webinar, or you're somebody who is looking at maybe changing up what's happening on the front end, getting maybe more qualified buyers, how do you get people to stay longer to hear the offer for the next step that you're wanting to offer? All of these things are going to be of interest to you in the next episode.
That's coming up 2 weeks from now. So if you don't already subscribe to the show, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, which means that you will get the next episode. I want to once again say thank you so much to Ryan Levesque for being our guest today and for sharing this incredible information about this revolution that he is at the leading edge of. And I want to say thank you to you for listening. Michelle, is there anything you want to say before we go?
It's just a big ditto in gratitude to Ryan for the work that he does in the world, and to everybody that's listening. We see your unlimited potential. And I love that that's what Ryan's talking about, helping us all to get more leverage to really reach into what that potential looks like, both in terms of the impact we're going to make in the world, but also the rewards that we can get and the businesses we can grow and the opportunities we can open up for ourselves and for others. So thanks, Ryan. And thanks to everybody who is on this crazy business journey that we're all on.
We want to thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time right here on the Content Sells podcast. Bye for now.